Hello and welcome to Sideways. Well, summer has finally arrived with some considerable force. It's really quite balmy this morning and it's not even 7:30. This week, when Martin told me what he wanted to talk about, I thought we were going to have a conversation about cooking, but actually it turned out that what he intended to discuss was something very different and an illustration of a lack of emotional courage that can cause enormous destruction to the people on the receiving end of it. And Martin has some wonderfully joyful news that is a true reflection of just how old he is. Breadcrumbing.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm okay, apart from the unbearable heat.
It's only 9:15 in the morning.
Exactly.
It's not hot yet, really, is it?
Well, it's hot enough. I mean, the scales have tipped 20 this morning, which is ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, nobody needs that sort of temperature in their
Lovely.
life.
Hotter the better, mate. Love it.
Well, you're going to be happy this week. It's going to be quite hot, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, I'm not quite so happy when I'm at work, but
well, yes, there we are. You'll be laughing on the other side of your face, won't you? You'll be laughing on the other side of your sunburnt face.
I'll enjoy today as it happens and let tomorrow take care of itself.
Yeah, it's not a bad philosophy.
It's a good start to this episode, I think, really.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about breadcrumbing.
Great. Well, I know a lot about that, particularly if I'm frying a nice piece of fish.
Yeah, I thought that was... Well, I didn't want to patronise you again this week by explaining what breadcrumbing was, because you got all high and mighty last week about me telling you something you already knew, so I thought I'd let it go.
Yeah, but you'll notice, though, even though I got high and mighty about it, I cut it out of the edit.
Did you? Oh, I'll put it back in virtually, haven't I?
Yeah, because I thought I was being a bit high and mighty. So
you were being very high and mighty.
Exactly. I think I was probably being ruled slightly by my own ego there. I didn't want people to think that I didn't know what it was. And so when I listened to it back, I thought you were being a bit of a wanker there, Graham. So I took it out.
Oh, well, good on you. So a bit of self-analysis, a bit of self-awareness.
Exactly, self-awareness. Have we done self-awareness?
I think we did a long time ago, didn't we? I don't know. Perhaps we didn't. Perhaps it may be something that needs revisiting anyway.
Well, I did revisit it in the edit.
You did, didn't you? Yeah, good on you. I haven't done that for a long time, so it'll probably do me
anyway,
good too.
In the same spirit, I will volunteer that when you said you wanted to talk about breadcrumbing, I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was. I mean, I in my mind, I thought, I think I know what that means. I was broadly right, but it wasn't a term that I was familiar with.
No, it was a term that I only recently came across. I was reading a blog about how to potentially spot a partner or someone you know is potentially hiding an underlying mental health or addiction issue. Right. That sort of sparked my interest. Right. Obviously, there's lots of different red flags you can encounter when if someone has got an underlying mental health or addiction issue. But I just love the term breadcrumbing, so I wanted to look at it more. Yeah. And it also sort of moves us on a little bit from what we were talking about last week about ghosting as well. We touched on ghosting.
Yeah, I think breadcrumbing happens a lot in relationships, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's allied to ghosting as well in many ways. But before we start, I think last week's story about the women using the asparagus to predict sporting events starting to look a little bit flimsy already, isn't it? Because she said she thought England were going to win the Euros.
You know what's happened there, don't you?
Go on.
She's got hold of some asparagus, but she thinks it's from the Vale of Evesham, but actually turns out it isn't. I think that's what's happened. It's from East Anglia or somewhere like that.
Something's gone wrong, hasn't it?
Definitely. There's something wrong. Her asparagus is not working, is it?
It's not. She's the UK's only asparaman, so she's not doing too well for the whole career.
To be honest, she's not doing very much for the reputation of asparamances worldwide, is she?
No, she isn't. No, she's letting them down already. Day one. It's the first time I've heard of it, and it's very poor forecasting. Anyway, we'll move on to that because we don't want to talk about football. No. There's another little story that I heard about a man in Pennsylvania he was on the operating table having a vasectomy when an earthquake hit. I mean, the room shook badly and they had to suspend the operation for a while. I mean,
but there was more than a metaphorical earthquake occurring at the
time. I mean, that's pretty bad luck, isn't it? I mean, it's the last thing you need.
Wouldn't be the day to buy a lottery ticket, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Yeah. Certainly, it's the last thing you need really is scalpels near the old fellow when the room starts shaking, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I think it turned out okay. I think the rumbling stopped eventually, and they cracked on with it, and he was okay.
I mean, the other thing, of course, in that is that in a cessation of the operation due to an earthquake, he might have had second thoughts, mightn't he?
He may have done. Can you imagine the anxiety levels?
I actually want to go through with this now, and then he'd have had to. That puts him in a tricky quandary, doesn't it?
It does. And if he's a sort of a God-fearing man, he probably thinks that's a message. Do you know what I mean?
It could be. Crikey.
But anyway, I think
laden with all manner of difficulties, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd imagine the emotions he's going through there can't have been great. Great. It's but it ended up okay for the fella, and he's all right now.
Excellent. I'm pleased to hear it.
We like to hear that, don't we? Like a happy ending, as it were. Going up to the
happy endings will be completely safe from now on.
I was going to try and just move on from that. As I said, I thought that.
No, you dropped it in there for a reason. Don't.
Not for a reason. Yeah, it's the gods telling me to. It's pure chance. Anyway, subject matter.
Yeah.
Definition of breadcrumbing.
Yeah.
It's a term for springing someone along with small nuggets of communication, but never fully committing to a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it typically refers to romantic relationships, but it can occur with other personal and professional relationships as well.
Yeah.
So it can be with friends, etc. So it's a term which, although I hadn't heard of before, I sort of instantly recognised it as potentially being the breadcrumber or the breadcrumbee. We'll come on to that, come on to the differences and how it affects you differently. It's a sort of it's a colloquial term, really. It describes a pattern of behaviour, and it's rooted in the old famous fairy tale, isn't it? The Hansel and Gretel story. Oh. Was that one of your favourites as a kid? It used to frighten me a little bit.
Well, I think all those Hans Christian Andersen. Is it Hans Christian Andersen? I imagine it is.
Yeah.
I think they're all a bit dark, aren't they? They're all a bit scary.
They're a bit dark.
He was the kind of forerunner of Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Really? Or even Roald Dahl's actual stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that television series? Inside Number 9.
Oh yeah, that's dark, isn't it?
Same sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I like that though, don't you? It's for standalone stories, they're quite good. Short stories, a bit like fairy tales,
aren't they?
They are dark. Mm. They are dark. Yes. So it's not an official psychological term or a diagnosis.
I don't feel so bad that I hadn't come across it now then.
No, it's not. And I can't imagine a doctor will pull you into a side room and say, look at you over the top of his spectacles and say, look, I've got something to tell you. It's a bit of bad news, old boy. We think you might be a breadcrumber.
Or you're being breadcrumbed.
Or you're being breadcrumbed. Yeah. So
I was just thinking, I've not seen advertised a breadcrumbing CPD event that I could have.
Have you not? It'll come soon, I'm sure. But I was looking at the behaviours you can expect from a breadcrumber, because these are very consistent with those that have addiction issues.
Yeah.
Which is why it sort of can be a red flag if these are appearing. There may be something underlying. Mm-hmm. The first one was inconsistent and erratic communication.
Yeah.
Which is probably straightforward, isn't it, really? The next one, speaking via text or social media, but not committing to spend time together in person.
Yeah.
So just little breadcrumbs being fed out. And again, when you're in addiction, that's what you do. You never want to meet people in person.
What are you trying to do there then?
Just you're trying to avoid contact and people. Well, you're trying to avoid being judged. You're trying to avoid.
So are you maintaining? So in addiction, when you're doing that, are you maintaining contact because you want to maintain contact, or are you maintaining contact because you think that's what other people are expecting of you and to do that?
Exactly. It sort of throws people off the scent a little bit, you think. If you go totally quiet, people start coming around knocking your door. If you throw out little breadcrumbs, it keeps them at bay, and you can crack on with your addiction properly, with your drinking or drug taking, in your isolated state. So that's a very relevant one. Not following through on plans that are made. Again, it happens all the time when you're in the madness.
I suppose if you're in the midst of addiction, probably making plans is the last thing you want to do anyway.
It is, but can you remember? You've done it yourself. When you're pissed in the pub, you'll think something sounds like a good idea with someone. Oh yeah, we must go and do that. And in the cold light of day, you don't want to do that. You probably breadcrumb them then. Just say, "Oh, I'm not feeling too well," or a little bit of some sort of excuse. But when you're in the madness, you do.
Unless you're in a situation of mutual breadcrumbing. I remember once in the pub, Adam and I decided on a Sunday night when we'd had too many Bindon ciders.
Yeah.
And those French beer de garde that they used to sell in the minstrel.
Yeah.
We decided we were going to take the next day off work and go to France for the day. Unfortunately, when we both woke up, I think we both sort of drew a discreet veil over it.
Did you never mention it?
Didn't talk about it anymore.
Well, that's the sort of thing that happens, isn't it? That's where beer takes you. Another behaviour is surface level communication, which is the same as really just the basic breadcrumbing, where it lacks depth or vulnerability or details about someone's life.
So you're just doing the bare minimum to keep.
You do exactly right. Yeah,
to keep the conversation going. So I suppose in addiction, there's a difference, isn't there, in terms of your motivation to breadcrumb. You're trying to keep people away by keeping them where you want them.
Yeah.
Whereas in romantic situations, I suppose you're trying to keep people close without letting them where they want to be.
Yeah.
Which is a slightly different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's an imbalanced relationship, basically, isn't it? Where one person probably doesn't reciprocate the level of interest from the other. And we're perhaps just breadcrumb just to keep it sort of on ice, but don't want to commit anything further.
Yeah.
And the last point on that was potentially focusing just on the physical side of the relationship rather than focusing on all sides of the relationship. So yeah, there's certain motivations in certain areas, but that's it. That doesn't particularly happen so much with addicts, but I can see it in a initial relationship, maybe.
What are you talking about there? Are you saying, just having a sexual relationship without committing in other ways?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen in all sort of different areas of a relationship, can't it? You can have you can do the opposite. You can have a kind of relationship where you're quite happy to go and do stuff with your partner, but you don't want to have sex with them. Which is a similarly difficult situation potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Just when you're in the madness, it's difficult to perform, but you've got no motivation anyway. So you'll keep someone at arm's length on that basis as well.
Yeah.
But also just wanted to look really at what you can observe in yourself if you're being you're the breadcrummy, as it were. And it's really bad if you're in addiction and you are the breadcrummy. Because it leads to all sorts of problems. It would
make you drink more, wouldn't it?
It would make you drink more, take more drugs, or if you are having a period of sobriety, it could turn you back onto the dark path. So these are just little pointers on this. So if as a breadcrummy, you're going to feel confused and uncertain about the state of the relationship. That's straightforward, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah, it is. But I don't know, maybe you're going to come on to talk about this, but apart from it making you feel confused about the state of the relationship, it almost inevitably, particularly if you're struggling with addiction or it's going to make you question your own value, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm not sure if that came up in there or not, but it's a good point anyway. We may hit upon it later, but it is a good point. It puts you on this roller coaster of emotions where, you're going to be sad one moment, then hopeful, then disappointment once again. And when you're in addiction, or even if you're in early recovery, you can end up lapsing because you use on emotions, that either
exactly.
good or bad.
You want stability, don't you, at that point?
You do.
And it's also this is something I've noticed that people don't really consider. I mean, they experience it, but they don't necessarily name it. When you're in a situation where your emotions are being pulled in all directions, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And absolutely. If you're exhausted, that must make you more likely to lapse, I would think.
Yeah, it does.
Your resistance is lower, isn't it? Your resilience is not where you want it to be. And it's in that situation much harder potentially to reject temptation.
Yeah, it is, and it is a big problem, which is why we seriously advise against getting into new relationships in early recovery, because you don't know how a relationship's going to work, and you may well get breadcrumbed. No one likes that. So
particularly if you're in a relationship with another recovering addict.
Yeah, I did put that in my notes actually as I was rereading them this morning. It did occur to me, because that is just got disaster written all over it, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of bread potentially in there, isn't there?
There's a lot of bread, a lot of crumbs going on. Tears and crumbs together, they make a paste. You don't want that. But yeah, the next one was feeling self-doubt, which is really what you were mentioning about, wasn't it? Really, such as questioning if you did something wrong. So you think that the balance of the relationship is down to you messing up.
I think that's the problem with breadcrumbing in a relationship, that if you're in that situation where you're being played or you're being messed around, if you are tolerating that, the likelihood is you are probably someone who has doubt about their self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because people who feel very self-confident about themselves won't tolerate that sort of behaviour. They'll be like, no, out of here. You're not interested, or you're not committed, or you say one thing and you do something else. If you genuinely feel as if you are worth more than that, you won't accept it.
No, you wouldn't.
So if you are accepting that, that says something about the way you see yourself, and therefore it will make it easier for you to conclude, it must be something I've done, or it must be something wrong with me.
Yeah, I don't like that feeling.
Just someone else being a cock.
Well, exactly. But yeah, you would question your own self-worth, and then think, tell you what, I don't like this feeling. I'll have a few more whiskies or vodkas or some drugs. That's that out.
Or both.
Both. A little cocktail. The next one was feeling anxious or dependent on the breadcrumber for the next point of contact. Yeah. So waiting by the phone sort of thing, or waiting for a text. Very anxiety-inducing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of human psychology, isn't it? The more scarce something is, the more precious we regard it as being.
Yeah.
So the less you're getting from that person, the more you want that thing. And it comes back to what I've just been saying. For instance, if you come from a background of emotional scarcity, if that's what you've kind of known through your upbringing for one reason or another, you'll be familiar with it. And people don't realise this, but unconsciously we're drawn towards people that will replicate painful experiences from our past.
Yeah.
So if you know emotional unavailability, which might have brought you into addiction in the first place, to be honest, then there will be something that will draw you towards people that will put you in that position again. And then you'll be working hard to try and overturn this belief you have about yourself. Oh, I'm always left. I'm not lovable, or nobody wants to stay with me. And that's why you'll then find yourself sort of standing by the phone waiting for it to ring, or waiting for the text to come in, because you're so desperate to overturn this self-belief.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that's a really good point. And when you finally make a bit of interaction from the breadcrumber, you probably feel quite bad about yourself afterwards as well, if it is on that very tissuey, thin basis where you're just getting a little small amount of information, just get an okay back, or a smiling emoji or something like that. Yeah, and then you think, well, that's not fulfilling.
It's never going to be enough.
No.
Never going to be enough, because you've been so good at picking people who will never give you enough. And of course, part of the problem is that it's coming from within you, it's not within the gift of someone else to make you feel as good as you want to feel anyway.
No, that's right. And it's going to make you feel lonely at that point, when you are just getting a couple of words back or whatever. And again, really dangerous if you're in early stage of, any stage of recovery, but certainly in the early stage of recovery, particularly dangerous because you feel hopeless about the relationship or feel hopeless about yourself again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not good. And although that breadcrumbing can happen at any stage of a relationship, it's often in the first flourishes potentially when, you get to the vital third date and nothing's really happening or whatever. But the way I've seen it happen often where people are going to recovery and then they're getting crumbs from their ex, for example. Their ex has been sort of almost using it as a reason to say, well, you get yourself clean and we know this relationship's going to be okay. And then they get themselves clean and it's not, and they're still getting breadcrumbed. So I see that quite a lot. See that quite a lot, which is which again leads down that path of relapse quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an example of the ex just not being emotionally courageous enough to tell them the truth.
Yeah, exactly that.
I'm really pleased you're getting yourself clean. Don't read anything into us because that's not happening. That honesty is kind of necessary, isn't it? Because you want people, when they're going into recovery, you want them to be able to deal with stuff with openness and honesty rather than hoping that something's going to happen over here when in reality there's not much chance of it happening because that's just going to put recovery in jeopardy, isn't it?
It is. And I've seen cases also where people go to rehab and then they get dumped because they're safely out of the way. There's a very cowardly way of dealing with it. But that can happen. But that really shows that the relationship really wasn't built on much in the first place anyway.
Yeah, and it shows that a lot of people don't have the courage to be honest about their own feelings, which is incredibly painful for the people who are on the other end of it.
Yeah, and I think that the prolonged process of breadcrumbing, which it can go on for quite some time, it's probably more difficult to deal with than ghosting, which tends to be fairly short term, and then the message is clear, isn't it? If it's complete ghosting, but breadcrumbing can string this out for a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely worse because you're being kept on the end of a bit of string, aren't you?
Yeah, there's no element of finality at all about it, is there? It's just dangling there.
No, the worst thing about being ghosted is in the end you have to conclude it's over.
Yeah.
The person who's ghosting you hasn't been honest enough to tell you.
Yeah, quite.
If you're being breadcrumbed, you're never sure whether it's over, are you?
No.
It's like, oh, that's over. And then you get a text or you get a message or do you want to come out tonight or whatever? So you're constantly being, kept on a bit of string, pulled in, reeled out, pulled in, reeled out. It's horrible.
It's like being on standby, really, isn't it? Anyway, where did we get to? Yeah. Is breadcrumbing intentional? Now then, what do you reckon?
I suppose it depends what you mean by intentional.
Yeah, the research shows that the people that are doing it may or not realise what they're doing, or the effect they're having on the on the breadcrumbee.
Yeah, I mean, if when you say something intentional, it sort of suggests that I'm planning to do this. I want to string you along. I'm determined to cause you emotional pain. I mean, I shouldn't think that's happening very often, but as I said before, I think it probably happens mostly because the person who's doing the breadcrumbing lacks some sort of emotional courage themselves.
It does, but I think
there's something happening in them that is preventing them from being honest about their intentions.
Yeah, I think you're right. The example they gave of whether it's potentially not intentional is where the person they may not realise that the other person is interested in pursuing a relationship. So they're not intentionally breadcrumbing them. They don't realise the other person is interested in a relationship, or the person that is doing the breadcrumbing might feel overwhelmed or not being able to commit to a relationship at that moment.
Right. Okay. So the second one.
Yeah.
That's the responsibility of the breadcrumber to volunteer that information.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're expecting from this, but I'm not sure I'm ready to be in a relationship. Right. That's easily dealt with. The first one, I'm not sure about that. That feels like a bit of victim blaming.
You
I
reckon?
didn't know you were interested in a relationship. I mean, come on. When you're blowing hot and cold with someone, I mean, you know you're doing that, don't you? Surely. Or is there? Are we saying here there is a responsibility on the breadcrummy.
Yeah.
To say I feel as if I'm being breadcrumbed.
Yes, I do. I think it's I think it's down to communication at that point, and or a bit of confrontation in the nicest possible way, just to clear the air. Yeah, if there is confusion, I mean, communication is key, I think, here.
So you won't really want the breadcrummy to be saying something like, "Listen, I don't know whether you know this, but I'm gluten-free, and I feel as if I'm being breadcrumbed, and it's putting me at risk."
Great risk. It could even be fatal. Yeah. But yeah, I think others might be more manipulative. It can be used quite as a tool, and recognise that stringing someone along allows them to benefit or to get certain benefits from the relationship, maybe sexual. But they don't want to.
And that definitely happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, and don't want to invest any further.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about it, really. I mean, well, no, the last point was, this is quite an interesting point. Why do people avoid ending a breadcrumbing relationship?
So do you mean if you're the breadcrummy?
Yeah, if you're on the end of it, sometimes...
like I said before, that's down to your sense of self and the way you value yourself. If someone's breadcrumbing you and you're not ending it, you know you're being breadcrumbed and you're not ending it, that is because either you don't feel as if you're worthy of better treatment, or it's familiar to you. It's almost like you don't notice that this is what happens when I'm in relationships. This is how people treat me. I think in the end, it comes down to how you value yourself and whether you think you're worth more or not. Because in the end, the only person that's going to be able to definitively stop that situation is you. You can't affect someone else's behaviour. You can't, even if you say to someone else, "I feel like you're stringing me along, can you stop doing it?" Oh, yeah. You still can't guarantee they're going to.
No.
The only guarantee you've got is to say, "I'm not putting up with this anymore because I deserve more than this."
It is, but if someone is in a relationship and they've got addiction issues, sometimes they feel like that those crumbs are better than nothing at all, and that which again is
lying to themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But again,
go on.
Oh no, I think communication is key again, especially if someone is being breadcrumbed, and they suspect there may be other issues like mental health or addiction issues. Communication's key at that point, although it's quite a difficult one to bring up. I think it's quite a brave step, perhaps, but I think it's worthwhile just opening lines of communication on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things there. The first one is, if you feel like having these snippets of someone's attention is better than nothing, then obviously that's a choice that you can make. You're free to make that choice. But I think you're probably kidding yourself, because what you're opening yourself up to is a continuance of anxiety and doubt. And you might think that's better than being alone, but I'm not sure anyone who's been in that position would really say, yeah, that's the sort of relationship I want to be in. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, if you are hesitant to communicate your needs, then that is on you.
Yeah.
You know, of course, that doesn't excuse someone else's bad behaviour. But if you feel like you're not getting what you want from a relationship and you're too afraid to talk about it, that is your responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you can hide behind that. And again, that can put, if an addict is in that situation, rather than confront, they're probably going to drink and take some drugs and forget about it. So yeah. it's a bad position to be in. But I think just sort of, because I often like to sort of end these bits and pieces up with quotes. But I couldn't find any on breadcrumbing. It doesn't seem to have made the memes arena yet. So unless there's anything else you wanted to say about breadcrumbing, or when you did look it up, whether there was anything you thought, oh, that's quite interesting and we haven't touched on.
Yeah, I didn't really read much into it. I just wanted to check that my broad understanding of it was
correct.
Was in line, yeah. So I haven't got anything else to say about it except don't be a breadcrumber or a breadcrummy.
It's a road to ruin, isn't it?
I think you summed it up. You know, communication is key there, isn't it? If you feel like it doesn't matter what you call it, whether it's breadcrumbing or anything else. If you feel as if your needs are not being fulfilled in a relationship that you're in, you've got to talk about it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because really, if being in a relationship is reducing the quality of your life, that's not really the point of relationships, is it?
No.
Really, we all want to be in a position where our lives are fine when we're on our own, but they're made better by the presence of somebody else.
Absolutely.
If you can't fulfill that in your relationship, then there's something wrong.
Which is great advice to sort of move on from, I reckon, don't you?
There we are.
Thank you. So should we go on to the conundrum feature?
Yeah, I've prepared one this week.
You have?
Yeah.
Wow. Go on
I
then.
prepared it about 2 minutes before we started, remembering that.
Okay.
Right, so it's got nothing to do. I suppose it has got something to do with breadcrumbs, actually.
Okay.
If you're at a dinner party and your host serves you something, perhaps breadcrumbed, that you can't stand, right? So goat's cheese, obviously. What should you do? I wasn't thinking so much about a close friend. You know, if you served me up, well, I mean, it would be a miracle if you served me something up. But if you served me something up that I couldn't eat, I'd just tell you.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, if I put some mustard in something, you'd be like, not eating that. But, you know, imagine you're going to someone's house, you don't really know them very well, and they haven't asked you, is there anything you don't eat? And it turns up on the table. Now what?
Personally, I eat it. I'd go through that anyway.
You just push through.
Yeah, I would.
Is there anything? Well, I mean, so you get something in a mustard sauce, for example.
I'd really struggle there.
What would you do then?
I'd really struggle. I'd
You'd
probably
be gagging at the table, wouldn't you?
I'd try and mix it with something else to take the taste away. First of all, I always feel that if someone has bothered to cook for me, it's really rude not to eat it and not to eat all of it. I think I find it quite, because I'm so. When people cook for me, I'm so pleased about that and appreciative that I'll crack on, even if it's badly cooked.
Right, so you've sat down to dinner. You've got a nice bit of beef in a mustard sauce with some horseradish mash, and some wasabi nuts.
I'd have great trouble, and I'd probably eat some of it and say, you know, there's a lot there. I can't quite eat all of it.
Okay, so your strategy would be try and avoid offence by doing the best you can.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay. What about you? You just fess straight up, would you, or not?
I don't think I would really, because I can think of a couple of times where I have had to face. Well, the best thing to do is not go to anyone's for dinner. That's the best thing.
That would sort it out, wouldn't it?
To avoid the possibility. But when it has happened to me, I have done what you've just said. I've pushed through. I would find, I can't think, I mean, I've even eaten goat's cheese, which is, I mean, that is the work of Satan as far as I'm concerned. I can't really think of anything worse than that. So I've just pushed through, but it's been really, I mean, I'll have to drink a lot in between. So I'd have a mouth, drink water and wash it down.
Yeah.
So if you ever see me doing that when I'm at your house for dinner party, you serve me up something that I don't like.
Yeah, I do try. I try and swallow without chewing as well on that. I just try and get it down quick so it doesn't hit the taste buds too much.
Yeah, like you're on a bush tucker trial. You've been asked to eat a goat's penis.
You're some kangaroo bollocks. Just get them down, son, and that's it. Don't chew.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing that helps in that area is there isn't very much that I won't eat. So
exactly.
there are a handful of things, and I don't eat much meat, but there's not too many things that I'm really averse to. So if you're someone who's very picky eater, that would be tricky, wouldn't it? Because it's like almost anything could turn up.
You could, and I have been at dinner parties where you see people leave most of what they've been given because they just don't want to eat it.
Yeah,
and you can almost feel the disappointment in the host's eyes or in their demeanour. So I tend to crack on. If other people do or don't. This might be slightly
controversial, but I would say that if you are the host of a dinner party, it's probably worth asking people you don't know very well if there's anything they don't eat.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you'd like to think you wouldn't have to be put in that position.
Yeah, because that will avoid red faces all round, won't it?
It would. So if you got invited to a Burns night where they're serving haggis, you just wouldn't go.
Well, I've eaten haggis.
You do, but you don't like it.
Songwriting workshop, and it was Burns night, and so we had haggis, and they piped the haggis in and everything. It was disgusting. And I think actually, because I was in a large group, I didn't eat all of it, but I did try it. I did eat it. It's just I found it absolutely vile.
You probably find in a large group there'd be other people that don't like it as well.
I can't really remember now. I don't like not eating
No.
the food that's provided to me. But no, that was foul. You can keep that if you can keep your Scottish delicacies. I'm not interested. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think have we talked that through enough?
I think we have, yeah.
I think so. I think so. Should we go on to our gratitude list then?
Yes,
Did you want to go first?
I can do. I'm grateful this week for 4 radishes.
For four radishes.
Yeah, they're the only things so far that have grown in my garden this year because of the slugs and snails.
Oh yeah,
I did manage to harvest 4 radishes, and I ate the salad on Wednesday evening.
And they were nice.
Well, they were just radishes, right? But there's something perhaps about having virtually nothing of a harvest that makes it taste a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, I can see they're quite precious, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, black currant bushes are laden with fruit, so that's gonna be good. The harvest there is going to be good, but no, all of them are vegetables and salads and stuff. They've all been absolutely decimated. But I've got a lot of very fat slugs and snails hanging about, so they've had a very, very, very rich spring and early summer.
They're all full of radishes, aren't they? Walking around, sliding around, slithering, whatever they do.
Exactly. So I was grateful for that. It's nice to have something from the fruits of my labours.
Yeah, it is. And four's okay. Four's okay. You'd like to perhaps next year you get more? I don't know how these things work.
Maybe 6.
Maybe 6. If it's going in the right direction, you've got to be grateful for that.
Talking of 6, I've got 6 apples on my tree, so I'm hoping they survive without being eaten by the birds. And because it's a new tree. You might remember when I put it in last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Or the year before, actually, probably was, because they don't fruit in the first year.
So that's quite. So that's starting to flourish.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It flourishes the right.
When you can count your harvest in numbers below 10, doesn't it?
But you're to do it on your own. You're not doing it commercially. You're like that's Tom true. Good, aren't you? You're in the good life.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be going to the farmer's market anytime soon, selling my wares. How much are the radishes? They're £14 each.
That's the only way I can make this work. Cover my pitch, the cost of the pitch.
Okay. What about you then?
Well, I'm grateful this week. In fact, I was grateful for this last week, but I couldn't say anything.
All right.
You'll understand why, really. My youngest daughter came up for Father's Day.
Yeah.
And we was obviously opening presents, etc. She gave me a card, and I opened the card up, and it said inside, to Dad, love from Lizzie, Jake, and baby.
Oh, how fantastic.
And she'd put a little copy of the scanned picture inside it as well.
Oh, that's magnificent.
It was just a beautiful moment. And, I cried. I was sort of overwhelmed by it, really. And it's my 3rd grandchild, but it's the first one for Lizzie, my youngest. So, yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic time. But I had to keep it on the QT because not everyone knew about it at that point. So I couldn't put it on the podcast last week. So
very good. Lovely. Congratulations, Lizzie.
Yes.
Excellent news, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yes. No,
I'll tell you what, I'm glad I didn't go second. I don't know how I could have followed that with me 4 radishes.
Well, they're all relevant, mate, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't think 4 radishes outstrips a baby, though.
No, well, I don't know. Yes, it doesn't.
When's the baby due?
Oh, December the 25th, I think.
It
is. It's going to be. It's going to be a.
It's not
Christmas
Jesus,
baby.
Second coming, is it?
It's got to be called Jesus, isn't it? Yeah. No,
I think told her that.
We did joke about that for some time. I don't think that will end up being especially if it's a girl.
Well, Jesus is all right.
But yeah, no names as yet. I'll keep you informed.
Yeah, do. Oh, that's lovely. Excellent news.
Thank you. On this day in music, which year?
Yeah.
Quite an early one, this one. Number 1 in the UK. White a Shade of Pale, Procol Harum.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you the year that came straight into my head.
Okay.
I think I'm probably a bit early, actually. But then the year that came into... No,
Are you
can't be that early.
You're going to go with your gut or not?
I don't know if I am. It feels like my gut is too early.
Okay.
I'll go with it. I think it's too early, but I'm going to go with it because I'll kick myself if I'm wrong.
Okay.
1963.
Too early.
67 was my second thought.
Yeah, 67. It was 67.
Oh. Damn, never get me to trust my gut again. It's annoying.
It is very annoying for you on this occasion because you score no points. Do you know which year? 22nd of June was the birthday, so it was yesterday. It was the birthday of Jimmy Somerville.
Jimmy Savile then. Crikey, that was a nasty moment.
It would have been, well, yeah, I don't think he'd been in the music. I don't think he released any singles. He didn't create any music. But
no, he didn't, no.
Jimmy Somerville, yeah. Comic Arts, Bronski Beat, all that.
Yeah. So I'd say probably 9. So hang on, this is his birthday, right?
It's his birthday, yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, but you're asking me for his birth date.
Yeah, the year.
I'm going to go 1962.
Oh, 1961. So you get yourself a point, mate. Not bad.
It's great. As long as I don't strike out with 0 points.
Yeah,
I'd have 3 now if I hadn't gone with my gut.
Yeah. This last one's a little bit tricky, but I'm a bit... It's I wanted a bass player in our Dead Super group.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But I'm, when I look at the list of who's died, the choice can be limited.
Is it Tino Palladino?
No, it's John Entwistle from The Who.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now he died age 57.
Yeah.
So you're a youngster, really. Do you know which year that was?
I'd say that was sort of mid 2000. I'm going to go 2006.
2002. So I know it was a long stretch to guess. I'd have had no idea on that. I'd have tried to work out.
I don't think that's too. I didn't do too badly there.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
you didn't. Not bad at all, mate.
Yeah. All right.
But on that note.
Yeah, go out and enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, I'm going to.
I'm going to lie in a darkened room until it goes
miserable
away.
bastard. All right, mate.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.